Plain Street in Marshfield. Been in the business for 20 years.
Time flies, huh?
It has flown, yeah. Especially when I think about having a 15-year-old now as well. It's like, where has time gone? But a lot of experience dealing with all types of buyers and sellers and lots of interesting mortgage scenarios in a lot of different markets, which I think is really important when you're looking for, a lender with a lot of experience just to give you ideas on how to do things. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, but buying and selling right now, I mean, interest rates in general have come down off the highest that we've seen in a very long time, but we've also seen the lowest rates we've seen in a long time within the last 3 years. So, buying right now is all about building the future, right? Renting right now is all about, to me, a short-term fix, right? So, a lot of people during the pandemic became career renters just because a lot of people weren't selling homes. There was not a lot of properties on the market. Then all of a sudden the prices rose, the rates rose really fast, and people just got shut out. They got frustrated. But I mean, the pros of owning your own home long term equal major opportunity for you. I wish I bought when I was younger than when I bought 20 years ago, right?
How old were you when you bought your first home?
I was 28.
28? I mean, that was young, don't you think? Do you think that's young?
It was, but after meeting a lot of people that are buying homes and investing right now, especially with some of your coworkers, and some of the entrepreneurial investors, some of these kids are buying right out of college.
Well, and it's so interesting too, because I listen to Clubhouse every single morning, and I've invited you on that app, and it's just wonderful. And one of the bigger things that people are doing, and this is something that you can consider, is to give your children that wealth of coming years.
Right.
They're going to be, believe me, they're going to be in college before you know it. You said you can't believe you have a 15-year-old. Well, I can't believe I have a 28-year-old, and my other one is going to be 27 next week. So
there we go.
Yeah, time flies. But what a lot of people are doing now is, once they're deciding where they want to be for college, I wish I did this for Mackenzie when she went to get her master's in Clemson. I should have bought a house for $100,000 down there, a 3-bedroom ranch, and let her live there, pay rent, have whatchamacallit. She wouldn't even have to pay rent. She could have a roommate or two. They would be paying rent, and they would be paying the mortgage. And then she could either have an investment property, right, if she left Clemson. And now she's looking at another school, Auburn. Where's that? Where is that?
Auburn, and I think is in South Carolina too.
Is it? No.
Auburn, Georgia.
Is near Worcester.
Worcester? What? No, it's definitely not around here. It's Auburn. It doesn't really matter. So,
isn't it in Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's Alabama.
Yeah, I think it's
the
Alabama.
college.
Yeah,
Yes.
The college, Alabama. I think it might be,
We're like, what?
either
No, I think it's Alabama.
I think it's Alabama, regardless of what it is. She could have that as an investment property.
Google it.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
already.
I am.
But she already said that her next move, she wants to be down south. She wants it to be 10 years minimum. She is buying. She is not going to rent.
Right. I'm licensed in South Carolina if she wants to
Oh,
move
you
there.
are? Okay,
So.
perfect.
Alabama.
Alabama. Can you get
All right.
licensed in Alabama for me?
We're licensed in all 50 states.
Okay.
So we can definitely
Yeah, you
help
can
her
hook
out
me
down
up.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Of course.
Well,
But
hopefully she gets the interview.
but again, it's like, trying to make these decisions, you look at what are the reasons why someone might not want to buy right now, and you look at down payment. But then I look on the other side and I say, when you go to rent, it's been very long for me. I am an investor, so I do have some leases, but again, they were signed a long time ago. But like, what's the average? Like, I mean, you're putting first, last, security. Say the rent's $3,500.
I know.
Like, I can't believe how high rents are, number one. So that was one of the things I had written down here.
Yeah.
Is that if you are considering renting, rents aren't going down. Okay? So number one tip that we give all of our investor clients is that, this is an investment for you very long term. So people look at a home and say, hey, I might be in this house, for a while. This is my primary residence. But then they look at it and go, you know what? I might not want to be here forever. What would I get for rent on this? And then they move out, get a plan to maybe refinance, pull some cash out at some point in time. But I think it's really just about understanding what your plan is, understanding what the costs are, because we've run scenarios for people with some of our first-time homebuyer products where you could put 3% down. You could put 0 down, right? And in a market that is shifting, we don't have as many competing offers sometimes on some of these first-time homebuyer properties. Like, let's say for Plymouth County, maybe under 400,000 or under 500,000. Starter condos, starter homes. So when you look at the difference, it's like, okay, first, last security at $3,500, so that's $7,000, that's $10,500, right? If you look at 3% down on a $400,000 property, it's $12,000. So like the difference it's not that much more. And then you're owning something. And I think that's like, people say, well, what's the difference between renting and buying? You own one, you don't own the other one.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because we have our roundtables every Tuesday in the office with the agents, and we talk about different scenarios and everything. And last weekend it came up, and I think it might have been Trish Flynn that actually made the comment, people were talking, oh, the rates. And she's like, maybe the rates went up a little bit. They were just so unrealistic before, but it's, the only thing, or maybe it was Sue Bollinger, the only thing for sure is if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest.
Right.
Right?
And rates are cyclical. Having been in the business for as long as I have, I mean, we've seen rates as high as 8%. I mean, remember 2009, 2010, 2011, rates were super high, super high. And then we came back down, and now we're on a little edge back up, but now we're coming back down again. So it's kind of like you can always refinance a property to find a better payment. It's just a matter of, again, what's your plan? When you're in a lease, you can count on one thing, 5 to 10% appreciation on what that lease price might be.
And it depends where you are. I know my daughter, Casey, actually, she lives in the South End. And last year, they go up in the rent every single year. And she was at the dog park, and a bunch of them were talking, and they're on this board, the South End board. And some people were saying that their rent was going up 65%. And to me, that's just a landlord trying to push people out.
Right.
But that's what they were doing. And hers was going up, but she's had some other issues, so she was able to negotiate that. I mean, she sort of does that for a living as well. But so she was able to get hers. But we're talking, if you want to be in the city and you want to be in the South End for a 2-bedroom apartment, you're minimally paying $3,700 to $4,500 a month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it definitely makes sense. I mean, I don't think you would be able to live in the city, maybe. I don't know. I mean, for condos and stuff, right? For down payments and all that, because it's so much higher for condos there.
Correct. And the interest rates. So one good thing that we have seen is in the last month, we've seen about a payment change for the better, about $375 a month. So from the highest rates down to where we are today, which is basically low 6s, high 5s for a 30-year fixed. If you want to get into an ARM product, we are really quickly going into the low 5s, high 4s. So again, each scenario will present its own interest rate and situation, very quick and easy to quote you out. But again, the pros of buying equity, investment, retirement, savings, improving your credit, opportunity to rent it down the road, so you could be creating another future investment income, property for yourself. You've got privacy and control of your own living space, which I think is huge. I mean, people don't sometimes like having the neighbor. So
well, and too, sometimes you're not allowed to paint.
Pet.
If you're renting, you can't have pets in a lot of instances, and you can't even paint your own walls if you want. Or how many holes do you put in the walls?
Yeah, I mean, just because I've always rented, that's not really a big deal to me, because you don't own it, so why? That's just my mind frame. It's okay, well, I don't own this unit. It could be a condo that you're renting or whatever, but why would I think that I can do all these things like paint and put all these holes in the walls and stuff? So, but it is true. It's it's your space, but not really. It's your space, but you're renting it, literally.
Yeah, I've never rented.
Well, good for you.
Well, it's just interesting, though. But I literally went from my mother's house to the house I'm in right now. So I mean, I got married when I was 24 years old, and we've been in the same house ever since. So, I was going
So
to.
that's significant equity, by the way, Melissa. Significant equity.
I paid $137,000, $137,500 for a house in 1992, and I wrote it over here. It was like an 8.5% mortgage at the time, and I just want all of our listeners to know. Again, we do have Pete.Fickeisen here with us with CrossCountry Mortgage, and we're talking about rent versus own, and why we think it's a really good opportunity for you to be buying versus renting. If you have any questions for him this evening, you can call us at the studio. George will get you through 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. And Melissa is online on all of our Connect pages on Facebook, so you can also ask us a question via Facebook. All right, what else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think just, again, buying, you've got so many different programs out there for so many different people, right? You've got, for veterans, we have VA programs, very low down payment. We have agricultural loans, USDA, 0 down payment. We have Home Ready and Home Possible from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are a minimum of 3% down. There's some income restrictions on those, right? So we got to watch that. It's going to be different in every county. You've got FHA, 3.5% down. And again, like the premise of buying right now, I think is something that I talk about a lot right now because I don't want people to be focused on the rate because a rate is a short-term thing, right? We're going to put you in the best possible situation, but what you really need to be focused on is equity. Equity, equity, equity. When you rent, there's no equity, right? You're not building anything unless you're doing some sort of rent-to-own deal, which I've had probably hundreds of people come to me with these types of scenarios. Never financed one.
I've never seen, people
Never
have
financed one.
asked me that before too, and I've never seen it.
I don't really understand the whole process.
I don't either.
Because I see these things sometimes they're on Facebook, so I feel like they're a scam. It's like, oh, rent to own, it's $400 a month.
Right.
Well,
I had
what are you renting for
I had one
$400?
recently where the lease, the renter was paying on time, lease was done, and renter had been there for like 10 years. And the lease actually stipulated the percentage that would go towards per year. And I think it was a maximum, it was a lot. It was like $6,000 per year. So I'm like, oh, this guy's got $60,000 down payment. He's like, well, the lease expired after 1 year. They never renewed it. And he kept on doing it and doing it. So the seller's like, hey, I want to make a deal with you. Like, let's get this done.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't go anywhere.
Wow.
Again, because the language of the lease wasn't correct. So you can get into those situations. I'd say they're few and far between because sellers, we need more sellers out in the marketplace. If you're looking to list your home right now, there's an army of people looking to buy, let me tell you. But again, people get fixed rated on interest rate on these products. And, refinancing specifically in Massachusetts is very inexpensive. If we don't do it for free, it's deeply discounted. So, looking at something long term, people go, "Oh, I don't want to buy it 6%." Well, you're renting for $4,000.
No, I think 6% is low. That's what I mean. I think it's only been the past couple of years, right, Pete? That these rates have been.
Pandemic, yes.
Yeah, right. So why is it? There's people just have that stuck in their head. So are you an advocate of that? that saying, the cliche saying that you buy the house and you marry the house and date the rate.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So you can. And I don't as an agent, I don't like to give that advice to anybody, but that's why I have you, right? So you can tell them what the pros and cons are of, doing a 5-1 arm or whatever it is that you would suggest. One of the questions I had is in regard to the home that somebody is buying, what are the policies or the regulations of, and I'm sure everyone is different. Let's just say I went out and bought my first primary home and it was a condo. And I purchased that home and then let's say 3 years later, I meet somebody else and I'm still always going to be with Mark, but let's pretend that's not my scenario right now. And then I want to buy a single family. Am I able to keep my condo and rent that out even if it isn't my primary anymore?
Yes, 100%.
So there's no regulations that says with your first mortgage that you if that first mortgage I get on the condo, it doesn't say this has to be your primary residence for 10 years or anything like that?
Only if it's a deed restricted property. So sometimes mass housing will put a restriction on that within a certain amount of time. FHA won't. You just can't get another FHA loan.
Oh, okay.
But when we, just to talk really quick about descriptions of, occupancy. So occupancy is one of the highest scrutinized, ways that we kind of qualify a buyer. The most fraud that's committed out in the marketplace is occupancy. So it's highly regulated, highly looked at. It's something that we can't screw around on. So the definitions real quick: primary residences where you're going to spend the majority of your time, your driver's license, your bank statement, your W-2, your tax returns would have that address. You're going to spend the majority of the time there. A second home is a place where you go to sometimes, but not all the time. An investment property is, I don't live there.
You don't live there.
That's it.
Yep.
So if you want to change one property distinction to another, that's fine. You just can't buy a primary residence today and then say, oh, I love this house in Pembroke. I know we already live in Pembroke, but this opportunity just came up. It's unbelievable. And
Yeah.
you can't do an occupancy of a primary residence without selling the other one
Okay.
within, they say 12 months, but you can have a really good, I had somebody move from Marshfield to Framingham because they took a job from South Shore Hospital to Framingham Hospital.
Okay. Yep.
So makes sense, right? They wanted to keep the house here, the job moved there, they're not going to make that commute. So if there's a reasonable explanation, it can be done. But yeah, you can buy a single family today here in Pembroke, say, you know what, I'm going to move in with my girlfriend down in Plymouth, and I'm going to buy another house down there and rent this one out. As long as you have the ability to qualify for both, and we like to see leases on some properties.
Yep.
We've even done those sometimes within the same town.
So, and I think it's important that you said single family, because I was just thinking okay, what if you bought a multifamily as your first property and you lived in one of the units, but you were renting the other unit out?
100%.
Yeah.
And then you could leave, we have people that, bought a home in Quincy, moved to Plymouth, got a single, moved back to Quincy, got a condo. I mean, it really just depends on the situation. Just has to be explained.
It's interesting how you were discussing, how much time you spend in each one. So I own this building, but I'm here a lot more than I'm home. So does that count as my primary residence here?
I get all my mail. Well, not my mail, but all my
All your
packages
packages
delivered
here.
here. I checked my mail. I have a P.O. box. Checked my mail for the first time since
Have you
the beginning
checked her
of
license?
December.
Has she put that here too?
Yeah. My mailing address is 19 Matakeesit Street.
Is that going to fly? Is that going to be okay? It's interesting, too, because in my notes I wrote, I know that you have other things that we're going to be discussing, too, but it's interesting where we are and that we don't have, we're so low on inventory right now, and it's what everybody is talking about. And this, Mel, maybe we can do some type of a survey out on all of our social media posts about what is the holdback of people not moving. Is it, we're seeing more construction on homes and people are deciding to stay. I know I myself have been talking some people out of a home. There's certain generations or demographics that I'm like, doesn't make sense for you to sell this to go here and then end up with a mortgage. They can't do lateral moves. So I feel like some people are being talked out of putting their houses on the market. I just don't know how we get that flowing.
Tough.
Where do we all go?
Yeah, well, it's a tough scenario because, think about it. We refinanced so many people into the lowest rates ever. I took 17 years worth of, clients that contacted me, were like, hey, it's a first come, first served basis. I'm like, we are overwhelmed. And the phone just rang off the hook for, I was at my house in the pandemic working 16-hour days, nonstop. My wife's like, I'm like, just leave me alone here. And I just closed the office door and just would, put my head down. She's like, what about the kids? I'm like,
you take care of them for the next 2 years.
That's why I'm not as stressed right now as a lot of people. Because we wrote a lot of loans. We put a lot of people in super low interest rates. So,
and that's the thing. I know from my house, we had refinanced several years ago, and it was, I think we have a 2.375 or something. It literally dropped out one day, and we refinanced, and why would I ever leave that?
No.
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I married the rate, and that's where I think a lot of people are right now. We're going to be doing Pembroke Chamber of Commerce. We're trying to get that all going again because the pandemic actually sort of hurt a lot of these local chambers. So we're going to be having an event here on Wednesday, April, I think it's 11th. It's a Tuesday night, so if you want to come and join us, we're going to be bringing people onto the radio with us just to promote their businesses.
Great.
But what we're going to be doing is I've invited the people who purchased Shepherd's Funeral Home, and that's Bristol Development, and they're putting 66, or they're proposing to put in 66 rental apartments for 55 plus.
That's great.
That is really good news. So this is the demographic where we're saying renting doesn't make sense. But you said one of the first things you said when you got here, and you didn't even know I was going to bring this up, was in some instances, maybe it is a better thing to rent, right? It matters on your circumstances.
Right. And I kind of put that into some of the cons of buying. And that's, I was on a call today with some other realtors doing a team meeting for someone. We were talking about the same exact topic. And I think one of the things that, especially for, baby boomers and people that are older than that right now that are looking to sell is that, with the values where they went last year, there's an affordability issue. So if you can create a 55 plus rental scenario for someone where they can have that fixed income. I was actually talking with one of your agent's clients that they're looking to downsize and move to Cape Cod from Connecticut. And, they were saying, you know what? I want a fixed payment because what happens if something happens to me? I want my wife to be able to afford it. So we're not going to put all of our money into it, but I want to have a fixed payment that I know what it's going to be. And that was like $2,000. So that's like a really small mortgage in today's market just for the principal and interest. But when you're looking at taxes in general, like if you are coming into a fixed budget type of life and you want to enjoy yourself and travel and do all the great things
The
of
quality
retirement,
of life, right? That's where the difference comes in, is that quality of life.
Maintenance costs. I mean, gas is more expensive. I mean,
Snow
to have
removal.
snow removal, landscaping, all those types of things. I mean, I just had somebody over to fix a couple things in my house for plumbing, and I was like shocked.
You should have called McNamara Plumbing, by the way. Okay.
I will next time. Trust me, I was horrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, an outdoor spigot is $1,000?
Yeah, well, that doesn't make sense, but yeah, but it is. Everything is so expensive. But that's right now it's supply and demand because there are not a lot of people in the trade. So that's another thing that's sort of going on, which is why it's expensive to build homes, and just that's a whole nother story that we can talk about another day. Mel, you were looking around, or were you?
Yeah, I'm just on Facebook. I was asking your question that you wanted.
Oh, okay. But I think that it really does make sense for that boomer generation, and it's the older boomer and the younger boomer, because the older boomer, they don't want to have all that responsibility, and the younger boomer is the one that's taking care of their parents, who are the older boomers. So it makes a lot of sense for them to be in a safe environment with other people their age, being able to do things community-wise. This is going to be wonderful over here. They can walk to the center. They can, they can go food shopping, go to CVS and get their prescriptions, go get their nails done, go to the Packy, like so many things to do, right?
And then they could have the place in Florida or Cape Cod, or, there's other ways to, other places to spend that money and still buy. But sometimes there are circumstances where renting, if you need to be on an absolute fixed budget, is important.
And that equity that they've probably been in their homes forever and a day. So the amount of equity that they have
Huge.
in their current home is so big. So they have that as a nest egg that they're enjoying life and doing traveling and doing all those great things. So
I said this last week when Charlie was on the show that, there might be this mindset of somebody who is renting that is saying to themselves, oh, I can never afford to buy. But I'm just going to continue to rent and even not even from the same place, just continue to move. And like you said, it was like over $10,000 to.
I forgot the fee too. Like if you're renting and paying a realtor fee.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole fee part too. So now we're right there at that 3%. Like,
yeah. But what I said last week on the show was, it doesn't hurt to have the conversation with a loan officer. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
So even just to have that conversation, it might like, you might be surprised, because I feel like a lot of buyers are surprised when they're like, no, you can qualify for this. Like, you can't, like, if you do this, and especially if you find a loan officer like you who will help navigate you through that. Like, even if you do have, you know, poor credit, or you do have a lot of debt, like, you can help them sort of get on the right path of how to get rid of that, or how to sort of, you know, diminish that or whatever.
Yeah, navigate through that whole process, right? I mean, can't get to where you want to be unless you know where you are.
We're putting more first-time home buyers in homes right now than any time in the last 5 years. It is a big first-time home buyer market right now for us, pre-approving them at an alarming rate, which is great. Because I think people are getting off that pedestal of like, why am I spending $4,500? I mean, there are places in Marshfield that are brand new apartments that are renting for a 3-bed for $4,200 behind a supermarket. I mean, it's great for the people that own those rental units, but I mean, again, we want to make sure that there's a plan in place with any mortgage that we put anybody in, and that plan can be, hey, I'm going to be here for 5 years, or I'm going to be here for 10 years, or it's the same type of plan we lay out for products. Like, we can forecast out where rates might be down the road. Like, we called kind of what was happening right now, where we're going to hit a peak right before the new year. That's going to come, inflation's going to come down.
And we can already start to see things sort of building up right now, and more buyers coming out, and a couple listings are sort of trickling on. But Super Bowl is in 2 weeks, and that's when we say the spring market actually starts.
Right.
So
depends if there's snow.
Yeah,
which there hasn't been, which is great.
Yeah.
It's my favorite type of year. It doesn't snow here, but snows in Vermont.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting because I think it was 2 years ago when we first bought this building, Mark got a new plow and a new truck to do all the plowing here. We got no snow, basically. And then this year we put a generator in, so no snow.
Yeah, we won't lose power.
A year ago, yesterday or today, we had that giant blizzard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a part of me though that sort of wants like a little snow day.
None.
I said it to Mark too, and he had the same face as you, Pete.
No.
So he's like, absolutely.
If my snowblower can stay where it is, I am a happy guy. I got a long driveway. It's not cool.
I know, it snowed this morning and it's gone.
It looks pretty though. I love snow globes, and I felt like I was in one as I walked to my my garage.
I get that.
Right? The big fluffy
I felt
ones.
that. Yeah.
Again, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I'm Sharon McNamara. I am the proud broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. Our show is sponsored by our company, Boston Connect Real Estate, as well as my team, which is the Sharon and Mary Real Estate team. I have Melissa Wallace here, who is our everything. She's Director of Operations here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and we also have Peter.Fickeisen here with us from CrossCountry Mortgage, and love having you as a guest, and you do such a great job. If you have any questions for Pete regarding mortgages, anything to do with real estate, please feel free to give us a call. George is at studio at WATD, 781-837-4900, and you can also send Melissa a message. She is on Facebook, so she'll get your message as well.
Yeah, message me.
Call me.
Call me.
Message away. So
Message
one
away.
thing I wanted to go through real quick was we have these really cool calculators that I honestly wish I used them more.
Yeah. I love this stuff.
Yeah, so here's one for you.
Okay,
here's
great.
one for you, Melissa.
Perfect.
But the bottom line is, with any scenario, we did a $600,000 purchase with 20% down. I did a very conservative rate at 6.25%. So when you take a look at this, year one, you're not going to be in the equity zone, right? When you compare rent of, I did 3680, which was the average in Plymouth County, which horrified me. I was like, wow, that's expensive. Plymouth County's average rental is $3,680.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Why do you think that? Because maybe Plymouth? Do you think Plymouth has a high?
Plymouth County's huge, and it
Yeah.
integrates a lot of communities.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that was,
Yeah,
Well,
that-
Brockton's in there. I know Brockton has a high rental.
yeah,
yeah, I think everything does right now.
it's expensive.
It's expensive to
Yeah.
But like when you're looking at this, I mean, you start off the payment for a mortgage at 6.25 is good with taxes and insurance. We did average taxes, average insurance, so an extra $1,000 there. You're looking at $43.87 a month to own versus $36.80. So after year one, your net gain for buying a home, you're already positive in equity over $8,000. Okay. Year 3, $44,000. And as we keep going on, you're going to quickly look that if you rented that same home with a general appreciation of 5% a year on your rental, in 9 years, that rent could go all the way up to $5,500. You would have paid almost the same amount if you had paid off $479,000 of your loan.
Wow.
9 years.
Where'd you get this? I want this.
I can do this for anything you want.
Okay.
It's right off our.
This is for loan officers.
Yeah.
I have to be a loan officer to do this? I like this.
But we can run these scenarios, and we just tax benefits. It does a lot of. We did this very conservatively because I didn't want to do any fluff and mirrors here for anybody. But by year 10, you're literally sitting on almost $377,000 in net
what was
equity.
the price of the house that you did this on? A $600,000 house. I mean,
Yes.
honestly, I wish that you had done like a $450,000 house or a $500,000 house, because that would be even.
It would be even bigger. I wanted
Yeah.
to show kind of where we were, average price points right now.
Yeah.
Just because, I use Marshfield as kind of a benchmark.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you
The,
can't get
the
anything.
average sale, like when I moved into Marshfield
Yeah.
12 years ago, average price point on a home was $300,000.
Yeah.
Now it's $650,000.
Yep.
So I thought $600,000 was a good average, but if we did $550,000, this would be even bigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because I would think that most first-time home buyers, that's why I'm thinking first-time home buyers, they usually don't see themselves in that range, depending on where they're moving from, right? But this is awesome. I love looking at this, and the only thing I hate about radio is that all of our listeners can't see this, but you can do this exercise for people, right? So
Literally in minutes.
in minutes, right? And you can email it to them. If you are out there and you are renting right now and you are considering buying a home versus renting a home, you really need to look at this chart. I'm a data geek, but you know who would love this is Nick Flynn. How can people get in touch with you? Do you want to give your phone number, or do you want to give your email? We'll do it again at the end, but I'm excited
You can reach
about
me
this.
or text me at 508-240-4418. That's 508-240-4418. Or you can email me at Peter.Fickeisen. No, that's an easy one to spell. Fickeisen @ccm.com.
When
I always
see CCM, I think of hockey. Yeah.
We might have obtained that address from them. Just recently, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes. Love my boss.
Yeah, they were with
Makes it all
Reebok at one
happen.
point. CCM. Yeah, when I was at Reebok, CCM was there. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mel.
That's okay. Every time I have to go back and look at your last name because I always want to put the I before the E. So I'm like, nope, it goes EI.
So I'm just going to give his number again, 508-240-4418. So if you're thinking about buying versus renting, you just have to do this scenario because it is actually mind-blowing when you look at it this way. So you guys talk. I want to look at this more.
I know we are talking about pros, but we do have a couple cons on here, even though we do want people to sell. Why did you want to talk about cons as well?
Yeah, just like we reviewed briefly, it's just like, I feel like, again, some of the cons of buying, like if you were downsizing or you were empty nesting, living in your house forever, like you're going to sell your home, you might not want to get right into something right away.
Yeah.
Right? So inventory might be a reason you might not want to buy right away. So that's why we recommend short-term rentals. But again, having a plan, I think, before you sell or buy or rent is the most important. And then I really liked what you said before. We call it a strategy call. Quick 15 minutes. We're not going to pull your credit. Let's just have a strategy call, figure out what's going to be the best, resources for you right away, depending on where you want to buy.
Yeah, but if you're not pulling anybody's credit and not like asking for those things, you have to believe that these people are being honest. Right?
True. Most people, when they come to us, they don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
So they have a good idea. But like, we're not issuing a pre-approval until we pull someone's credit. But
And I think it's different too when you're talking to someone versus we had this big conversation today about what can I say them? Rocket Mortgage, right? And I explained to them because I think it was you that told me that they're not actually a mortgage company; they're a marketing company.
they're a mortgage company, but they're their process is marketing correct.
Yeah, so they're marketing because, this other bank that's local is like, oh, we're now Rocket Mortgage. No, you're not. They're just selling you leads. But like I think that people hide behind a keyboard and they're like, oh, I'm going to lie. Maybe I'll just say I make $1,000 more.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to know behind the...
So there's a bunch of local banks that aren't doing mortgages, and they're referring their deals over to, Rocket Mortgage.
Okay.
Hey, with that being said, one of the things that we're going to tell you is that you should always compare interest rates of what you would get online to someone with brick and mortar early. If someone can beat us out, we're not going to cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. But the thing is that when I looked at the market share report recently, Rocket Mortgage, #1 lender in the state. I was shocked. Midwest, I would have thought that was, but Rocket Mortgage charges a lot to do loans. Like, people, you need to shop and find
Yeah.
out where the best deal is. Like, it's really unbelievable because their salesperson is getting paid to execute the application. They're not pre-underwriting like we are. They're not running underwriting on their system. They're not pulling credit. They're really not doing much other than like, yep, we'll get you in. Let's get an app, fill out this, do this, do this. Then they send you the next stage.
Well, and I want to just say, for the record too, is, the important thing is I believe that we're getting into another time when you're saying it already. You're doing a lot of pre-approvals for first-time home buyers. We're talking our clients. We have a lot of first-time home buyers and just buyers in general. We still have low inventory. We're going to get into the spring market, and guess what we're going to see again? We're going to see multiple offers because there is no inventory. So we're going to see that all over again. I'm hoping that it's not going to be as reckless as it was, where you have to waive everything and give your DNA. However, as a listing agent, and everybody knows I'm a very, very strong listing agent, and the exercise we did today in the office was just so much fun, but I can't talk about that. But if I'm looking at multiple offers and I have 14 offers on my property, I'm telling you right now, the first thing I'm looking at is not what your sale price is. It's who are you using to get this loan. And if it isn't somebody local, we all said that today about, these other internet companies. Like, I'm not going there. I don't even want the big box guy that starts with B, Bank of, Bank of A. I just don't. I don't even want to, and I don't even want to put anybody down. But it's like this big white elephant that can't get out of the way. I want somebody who's local, so we can have these conversations, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'm off.
Yeah,
I'm off
and I mean,
that.
We have 5 minutes now that you've gone on that.
but again, it's setting a strategy. Like, the pre-approval takes minutes. It's super easy. Uploading docs, super easy. Everyone's got a smartphone. You can tap into our app just like anyone else's and press a couple buttons, take a picture of your ID, take a picture of your pay stubs, your W-2, upload it. Most of those loans, like loans under $727,000 right now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have made it so easy for us to get information on people that sometimes you don't even need any of that. If their employer is on something called the work number, right, which is like a national database of employers that use like an online HR. If your company is clued up with that, we don't even need that stuff. It already pulls automatically through.
Yeah.
Here come your W-2s. Here come your pay stubs. Here comes your verification. I don't need anything from you. Can I have a copy of your ID? And then we just tell people, here's your phone.
I have a copy of your ID.
Yeah, take a picture of your driver's license, send it over, and I need to verify your bank statements. But, you already connected your bank accounts to our app, so we're done. We don't need any documents from you.
That's good.
And I have to tell you, that's 60-70% of what we do now, so it's super fast. And that's important because that's the part that takes borrowers the heart, to get, especially people that may not be as tech savvy, and they want to come in and drop off documents. Now that we have smartphones, you can take pictures of things, right?
Yep.
Qualification, strategy, all these things are very, very important because I'll be the first person to say, like, hey, you got to save some more money here. Like, I don't feel comfortable with you financing 95%, putting down your full $25,000 that you have. You've got a 401k, even though I can use that for reserves, you've got no extra money to move.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we should wait a few months.
Especially like if the water heater goes. And that's what's important. That's why we align ourselves here at Boston Connect Real Estate with, teams like yours, because we know that you're taking good care of our clients just like we would. And we only have a few minutes here. So wrapping up, what is the process if somebody is listening right now and they're tired of renting and they really want to take these next steps? What are your suggestions for them?
Drop a call, drop a text. You can go to our website. You can send us an email. I mean, we're super accessible, but you can just search CrossCountry Mortgage in Marshfield. We're the Fickeisen Group, www.fickeisengroup.com. So
And we'll have
so
all
many,
that on our website.
yeah,
too.
so many different things you can do to find us. But call, text, simple, set up a quick appointment. We don't need to meet in person. We can talk on the phone 7 days a week
Do
during
you ever
or
do
after
Zoom
hours.
too?
Zoom, I was on Zoom all day.
Oh,
yeah.
all day, yeah. So that's what I was going to say is
FaceTime.
that would be, yeah. So that's a good one too.
Well,
So-
First
especially because
Zoom.
you're licensed in every state, so somebody from another state can
Our
reach out
company
to you
is,
too.
yeah.
you're-
CrossCountry Mortgages.
CrossCountry.
Yep.
So if there's something that you can't do, you know somebody who can.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
So they would just set up that first initial appointment with you, and then you would go over the pros, the cons, and if they can and if they can't, and give them some insight onto, if they can't right now, on what they can do to get there, right?
Right. And if they want to come in, we love visitors.
Oh, really?
We have no,
I've
we
never
literally
seen
get
your
no
office.
visitors.
I've never seen
I
it.
We're
know.
right next to Styles Law.
Yeah, I know.
I've
We've never
seen
seen
it.
it.
892 Plain.
Okay.
We have a water wall.
Really?
You have a water wall?
Oh, maybe we'll
The
come and visit
company
you.
was an ocean themed company, so we have portholes. I have a sea glass desk, marble desk.
Oh.
Very, very fancy.
Well, we have a
over there.
radio studio here in
It's
our
very cool. I love this radio studio.
We have a fish tank downstairs.
Yes,
You do?
absolutely.
Do you have fish in there?
Yeah, we
do.
do. I've named them all.
Yes, we do. So thank you to all our WATD listeners for listening in tonight. Again, you can get in touch with Pete Fickeisen over at CrossCountry Mortgage. If you're thinking about buying a home, you don't have to be renting right now. If you're thinking about right sizing, finding that right size for you right now, you can call Pete, and he works closely with our team. So Mary and I and Melissa would be happy to help you in that next stage of your life. 508-240-4418 is Pete, and we're 781-826-8000. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
WATD